Yo, welcome to this video. This is Jonathan Belcher from the 300 to Freedom. In this video, we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, explaining exactly how the King James Version of the Bible came to be. I know a lot of you know and love this Bible. This is the most popular Bible in today's era that's been used probably for the last 300 to 400 centuries. So this is an important topic to understand. How did we even get here? How did we even get to a King James version of the Bible? Just some fast announcements before I start this video. I would like to tell you guys to check out my hip hop project that I recently dropped. It's called Forever Blessed. It's on all streaming platforms, including Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Amazon. As long as you got a music streaming platform available, you can simply search Jadiscrete and search Forever Blessed, and you'll be able to listen to my hip hop project and let me know what you feel about that. So without any further ado, what we're going to do right now is we're going to get into the presentation at hand. Other announcements are I am working on a book right now, and that book may be available right now and it may not, depending on when this video is released. But I am working on it right now and it's going to be completed very soon. That book is going to be extremely life-changing because it's going to share with you some manifestation secrets. A lot of these secrets I've applied myself in my life and saw a lot of improvements in my life from applying these very same keys in my life. So make sure to get that book as soon as it's available on Amazon, or you can get an autographed copy from me. But without any further ado, what we're going to do is we're going to get into the presentation at hand. As promised, how the King James Bible came about. And of course, this is being presented to you by myself, Jonathan Belcher, aka Jadiscrete. The name Jadiscrete is my stage name. That's my stage name. I have multiple aliases growing up. My mom's side of the family and my mom herself, they're all Jamaican. And if you know anything about Jamaicans, for some reason, they always give you a nickname when you're born, or they just will totally disregard your first name and just call you your middle name. And also my middle name is another name that a lot of people call me, which is Shatik. So I have multiple aliases just because of the kind of family that I was born into. But anyway, I believe this topic is very important to understand because a lot of people study things and they read things in this era and they don't know the history behind it. They don't know how we got to this point of having majority of Christians read a King James version of the Bible. So this is a very important topic to understand because you will understand the events leading up to a KJV Bible. So how the King James Bible came about, right? Of course, we know that the original Bible, from what we've been able to uncover in history, was the Hebrew Bible. It was written in the Hebrew language or the Aramaic language, but mostly the Hebrew Bible was the original Bible, based on what historians and stuff like that have been able to uncover. So the original Bible was written in Hebrew. Of course, this called for a lot of translated Bibles being written in English. Pretty obvious. The reason for this is because if you speak English and you know how to read English and you don't speak Hebrew, like many of us don't know how to do, then it would make sense for us to translate the Hebrew Bible into an English Bible that we can all read and understand. So this is how you have the name Yeshua. Jesus's real name is Yeshua. It's not even Jesus, because when Jesus was born, the letter J wasn't even created yet. In the Hebrew language, Jesus, his real name is actually Yeshua. And then, of course, as time went on and they started to create English translated Bibles, they started to incorporate the name Jesus, who's really Yeshua. So Jesus is that's not even his real name, to be real with you. So we got to talk about William Tyndale before we go into this topic, because in order to understand how we got to the King James Version, we do have to understand the events leading up to why it was even necessary, or why King James felt it was even necessary to create his own version of the Bible. You know what I'm saying? We got to understand the events leading up to that point to really get a good grasp on why. Why is it that we use this KJV Bible today? Why is it that so many people read this Bible? So the Tyndale Bible was published by William Tyndale in 1526. Tyndale was a 16th century English scholar and theologian who played a crucial role in translating the Bible into English. So this dude was like, yo, I don't understand what the hell this Hebrew Bible is saying. I don't know what the heck it's saying. I'm going to go off and I'm going to translate this into English so that we can all understand this. So he was really one of the first ones to do that. He was like the first ones to jump out the window and say, you know what? I'm going to create an English translated Bible based on the actual original Hebrew Bible, right? Or whatever the original Hebrew Bible it was, the closest thing to the original. So he was the first to translate the Bible into modern English from the original languages of Hebrew and Greek. This dude was a true pioneer right here. He was like, yo, bump that, man. I can't understand this word. They telling me how powerful this Bible is, but I can't understand it. So he went out there and he created probably the first modern English Bible. So William Tyndale continued. He was wanted by the Catholic Church for his heretical views and his publication of the Bible into English. He was betrayed by an associate, kidnapped by authorities of the church in Antwerp, and taken to Vilvoorde, where he was tried for heresy and executed in 1536. So literally 10 years after he published the Tyndale Bible, he was executed. And this execution was mainly because he was the one to say, yo, bump that. I'm going to go translate the Bible into English. So literally the Catholic Church hated this guy just because he said he's going to do that, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Like, damn, is it really that serious? Like that the man went out there and created his own Bible in an English language that everybody can understand, English writing? I mean, to me, I would think that this dude would be praised. But the Catholic Church didn't like him. Clearly, they wanted him out of here, so they got this dude out of here, right? So William Tyndale continued even further. Just before Tyndale's death, King Henry VIII, as a part of his agreement with the Catholic Church, had granted permission for the circulation of the English Bible. So, in other words, this dude, William Tyndale, he got murked for no reason. They killed this dude for no damn reason. And I think that's pretty crazy. I think that's pretty brutal that they killed this guy because he did something, they killed him for it, and then King Henry VIII's like, oh, okay, it's fine. We can allow English Bibles to now be in circulation after the guy's already dead, right? Or basically right before he's about to get killed. So I think there's more to that. I think that's just a messed up thing. You know, that's just wrong. I think that's very cruel and brutal that they did this to this dude, William Tyndale, because I don't see nothing really wrong with that. The fact that he was the first one to go out there and create an English Bible, but I think there was more to it where they felt like, you're not a part of the royal bloodline. Who do you think you are? You know, it's kind of one of those things, like an ego trip. Like, who do you think you are to go out there and go be the first one to create an English Bible out here in England? You know, who are you? That's what I think it was more so about. So the Bible that was then circulated was produced by Matthew Coverdale and was largely based on Tyndale's work. So William Tyndale and the Tyndale Bible opened the gates for other English translations of the Bible to be brought about. So this dude's like a pioneer for real. You know what I'm saying? Like he gets killed for something, and then they say it's okay to do that thing and allow way more other people to do it after he dies. So this dude, it's just sad he died for no damn reason, if you ask me. So before King James I was even old enough to rule, because you got to understand what's going on in England and countries like Germany, Scotland, you know, a lot of different countries. There was a lot going on before King James was even old enough to rule. So when King James was born, he kind of was just born in the middle of these conflicts that was already erupting and going on for years and years and years. So he was born into this problem between religions and different religious groups. So in the 16th century, England was experiencing lots of conflicts within the church. Different religious groups were sprouting up and disagreeing based on opposing interpretations of scripture, how you should worship, and what it meant to be a Christian overall. So different groups of people had different ways of going about practicing the religion, and they were disagreeing, and this caused a lot of bickering and fighting. You know what I'm saying? And this was going on for years and years and years at a time. So at this time, the Roman Catholic Church and the Church of England were extremely powerful. They even had heavy influence on politics and political decisions just like today, but the church was even stronger back then. You got to keep in mind, right? A large portion of the wealth being brought into England was due to the church. Literally, the king and queens had to consult with the pope of the church before doing certain things. They had to like get the pope's blessings and go to priests and stuff like that. You know, think about Catholicism, how people literally go to a priest. They confess all their sins to a man, to another man. People go to another man, confess all their sins, and supposedly their sins are washed away. Delete, your sins are gone, you know, which I think that's BS. I don't really agree with that. I think, in my opinion, I think a priest has just as much of an ability to go to pray to God and ask for forgiveness just as much as I do. I don't think it would make sense that I have to go to a priest to confess my sins before God will approve and forgive me. I think that in itself sounds a little crazy, but that's just my opinion. More important background information before we go into exactly how the King James Bible came about. All the stuff we're talking about now is literally just leading up to how that even became a thing, how the King James version of the Bible became a thing. So Catholicism, which came from the Roman Catholic Church, is the largest Christian denomination even today, right? Like over a billion people are Catholics. So it's a huge, huge denomination. However, Protestants broke away from the Roman Catholic Church and the Church of England and created their own denomination to reject Catholic beliefs and way of worship. So the Protestants was like, yo, bump that, man. We hear what y'all saying in the Catholic Church. We hear what y'all talking about, but we really ain't really jacking it. We ain't really hearing it. We don't really like the way y'all interpret the Bible. We don't really like the way you worship. We don't like the fact we got to go to a priest to confess our sins. So the Protestants was like, yo, forget y'all. We going to go over here and do our own thing. That's basically what the Protestants said. They like, yo, we want to be Christians. We ain't doing it under your Catholic umbrella. Now, you got to realize how bold of a decision this was, especially in this time in the 16th century from the Protestants, because the church, the Roman Catholic Church and the Church of England basically were the top of the top. They were like extremely powerful. They had a lot of influence in the English government. So you're talking about, you're breaking away from a very powerful regime and a very powerful institution to say, yo, let me go create my own thing. So the Protestants are like, yo, we don't like the way y'all do things. Furthermore, we hear y'all touching boys. We hear about y'all touching boys secretly and stuff like this. Yo, we don't want to really be a part of this. So the Protestants are like, yo, F that, we're breaking away. We're going to do our own thing. That's really what happened. In my opinion, this further exemplifies what happens when man creates something. Religion is man-made, right? Christianity is man-made. You tend to get bickering and fighting because man will always have their own interpretations of ideas created by other men. If something is truly of God and God wrote the Bible, then how could there be any disagreements on the word that God wrote? Really think about that. I think that you would take the original Hebrew Bible and you just translated the Hebrew words into what it means in English. I think you do that. But that's not really what happened. People started making their own versions of the Bible, and different groups started making their own Bibles to say what they wanted it to say, which is where you can see that whenever a man gets their hands on something and they tamper with it, it really, really waters down whatever something was really meant to be. So Christianity is pimped out. Let's just be real about it. Christianity is pimped out because for the life of me, I can't understand if God wrote that Bible, why are you changing the words? It should say exactly what God put on that paper. And if you want to translate it into English, that's perfectly fine, but it's got to be translated exactly how it was from how it was in Hebrew. Let's just be real about it. You know what I'm saying? Because how am I getting, if God wrote this Bible, how am I getting the real power from this word if things are being lost in translation? You know the saying, right? You know when and I gotta let me minimize this for a second. You know when people say, "Oh, it got lost in translation," well, that's really what happened. Like, tell one person a story, right? And then have that person share that story with 50 people down the line. By the time it gets to the 50th or the 30th person, that story that you initially told is going to become a completely different story. And that's kind of like what happened with Christianity. Like, there's like an original story from the Hebrew Bible, right? Which that in itself, they took stories from older ancient texts, but we're not talking about that in this particular presentation. But by the time the story gets passed down and passed down and passed down, next thing you know, it's not even the same story no more. It's not even the original story no more. So if you're liking this video so far, make sure to give me a thumbs up. Make sure to drop a comment. What do you think about this? What are your thoughts on this? Also drop a comment on if there are any other biblical topics or stories or things or anything having to do with history that you would like me to talk about. But I would appreciate a thumbs up, a comment, and if you subscribe to my channel, make sure to hit the bell symbol so that you can be notified whenever I make presentations like this. When you do that, it really helps my videos to be picked up by the algorithm so more and more people can see it. So I'd appreciate if you like this video, comment, and also subscribe. But yes, and make sure, don't forget to check out Forever Blessed, my hip hop project that was released on all streaming platforms. So let's get back into it, right? So Christianity is pimped out. You know, we just got to be honest about that. We got to just look at it for what it is. The Protestants. So as talked about in this slide, the Protestants broke away and they did their own thing. So who were the Protestants? The Protestants really got their identity after being responsible for the Protestant Reformation in the 16th century. Protestants saw a lot of the corruption going on within the Catholic Church, and they believed that the common man should have divine rights just as much as the Pope did, being that the Pope was imperfect just like everybody else. So the Protestants was like, yo, dude, like, who are you? Like, what makes you better than me? What makes you more equipped to talk to God than me? That's kind of how the Protestants was thinking. And to be honest with you, if I was alive at that time, I think I would be a Protestant, you know, because I'd be like, yo, what makes you so, why do I have to go through you to get your blessings? You know, you're the Pope. You're a man or a woman just like everybody else is. You know, so I kind of feel the Protestants and what they were saying, like, yo, like, what gives you divine right and me as a human being no divine right? Why can't I just read my own Bible? Why do I have to read the Bible exactly in the way that you interpret it? Some may see this as being problematic because this did lead to a lot of divides within the Christian community later on, and we're going to talk more about that in a bit. So the abuse of indulgences were a key factor in why Protestants were upset with the Catholic Church. So indulgences are basically when somebody has committed sins and they go to the priest and they do a certain amount of good deeds, good works, or they even pay money to get those sins like forgiven. Or basically they have a promise where, oh, if you pay money, when you go to hell, you're not going to be in hell that long. You're not going to be in purgatory that long. You're going to be able to eventually go to heaven because you've done these good works and you've paid this money. So you can hear how that sounds like BS, right? Like, how do you know that that's what it's going to be? How do you know that God is going to grant me into heaven and get me out of hell sooner because I've done this good deeds for you or I've given you money? So that the indulgences were being abused because, as you could imagine, the priests and stuff and the Catholic Church started to focus on only taking money, more and more money from people, and people were feeling like that was washing away their sins, and they were feeling like, oh, they were now forgiven by the Lord because they paid X amount of money. And you can really see how the Catholic Church and the priests would start to do this for their own personal gain, right? If they're making money to wash away other people's sins, after a while, you're just going to be focused on getting the money. So they were just doing all these indulgences just to make money. Ultimately, the Protestant Reformation was set in motion because of rejection of Catholic doctrine. So the Protestants was like, yo, we don't like what y'all doing, man. We really not feeling what y'all doing. We don't even like how y'all dress. To be real with you, right? Hold on one second. That was what the Protestants were saying. They were like, yo, we don't even like the way y'all dress. We don't like the way y'all look. We don't like the way y'all comb y'all hair. We don't like anything that y'all doing. We're going to go over here and do our own thing. And who was this Protestant Reformation kicked off by? This G right here, Martin Luther. This dude's a G right here. He kicked off the Protestant Reformation in Germany in 1517. And this dude is a G. And the reason why he's a G is because what he did was he went to this big Catholic church in Germany after writing up a paper called the 95 Thesis. And the 95 Thesis had all the reasons why he wasn't messing with the Catholic Church. All the reasons why he was like, this is why I don't like y'all. So he went up to the Catholic Church in Germany and he nailed his 95 Thesis that he wrote up. He nailed it to the door of the church, the front of the church. So this dude's a straight up gangster. This dude's a G. He was like, yo, F y'all. I don't like y'all. I don't like the way y'all doing things. And here's the reasons why. And he started nailing his 95 Thesis, telling them the reasons why he ain't messing with the Catholic Church. And as you could imagine, all the people walking by the church and all the people at the church saw this document that he wrote up and that he nailed to the front of the door. Right? So this dude, Martin Luther, he was a complete G. This dude, I got a lot of respect for this dude because he's courageous, right? So he kicked off the Protestant Reformation, and then a lot of people agreed with the things that he was saying in his 95 Thesis. Yo. So of course, as you see, these are paintings, or I guess you could say cartoon images of supposedly Martin Luther when he's nailing the 95 Thesis to the church door. He's looking at these people like, yo, I dare you to do something about it. I dare you to try me right now. Don't you see this hammer in my hand? I wish y'all would buck. I wish y'all would wild out right now. I'm gonna give it to y'all right now. Keep messing with me. So this dude was a straight up G. He wasn't afraid. He went up there to the Catholic doors and he just nailed his reasons for why he don't like the Catholic Church and just walked off like a straight up gangster. He just walked off like, yo, I'm out. Here are my reasons. I don't want to talk about it no more. And he just dipped off, right? So there's your boy nailing the 95 Thesis to the front of the Catholic Church. Yo, this dude is a real dude right here, Martin Luther. But anyway, not Martin Luther King Jr., by the way, obviously. And some people, they speculate that King James was black. I don't know where y'all getting that information from, right? I know LeBron James, the NBA player, is black, but we're about to talk about a different King James. That King James that we about to talk about in the 16th century in England, trust me, is not black. They wouldn't allow no black person, especially at that time, be in such a royal position in England. Trust me. First off, a lot of that stuff is based on you being appointed through your royal bloodline and who your family is. That's number one. So that, trust me, King James the First was not a black dude. Anyway, moving on. So sorry about that. Let me bring this up. The effects of Protestantism today. Protestantism created a lot of the Christian denominations as we know them today, because a lot of people at the time who wasn't feeling what the Catholic Church was, which was the main church, the Catholic Church, they went and did their own thing and they became Protestants. But even Protestants didn't agree with other Protestants. So they started even dividing amongst themselves. So it wasn't like just the Protestants. The Protestants incorporated a lot of different groups that some were extremists, some were violent groups, some were more peaceful groups, you know. So the Protestants had divides within their own group. It's almost like the Protestants became an umbrella of itself, and then there were multiple denominations under the Protestant umbrella. So this is why we see all of these different denominations today, but they're still under the Christian umbrella. How can so many different people have different interpretations of God's word and what God meant? I don't know. I think that's part of what the problem is. It's because this is stemming from a man-made religion. You know, I don't really believe, because when I read a lot of the biblical scriptures and I see certain scriptures, I'm like, yo, why would God, the creator of the universe, ever say something like this? This sounds crazy. But imagine so many people are disagreeing on the word. So that in itself should tell you that it's man-made. These religions are man-made. So some of these denominations you may know of today is Jehovah's Witness, Mormons, Presbyterian, Pentecostals, the Seventh-day Adventists, etc. Right? Because there's a whole lot of different Protestant denominations because of the Protestant Reformation. This is what created all of these different, this is where all of these different denominations we see today, this is where they stem from. Because it allowed for people to be subjective on how they worship, how they interpreted scripture, and how they practiced Christianity. So this is what being a Protestant did. It allowed people to worship and see scripture in the way they wanted to see it, you know. And you even had some very big leaders and kings. They would go as far as wanting to be a part of a certain Protestant denomination just because they could sin in a certain way, and under that denomination that sin is not seen as a sin, you know. So you could imagine how people were doing certain things and changing religious groups just for their own personal gain. And I'm not saying that, I totally understand why the people went off and did their own thing and broke away from Catholicism. I get it, because they was like, yo, these dudes just feel all, these people, they ego tripping, right? They feel all high and mighty, almost like they're gods, you know, like I gotta go through them to talk to God. And who the hell these people think they are? So I understand why the Protestants did what they did. I would probably be, like I said, I'd probably be a Protestant today. And them people, they had a lot of balls. They had a lot of, these people was courageous. I respect Martin Luther. I respect these dudes for breaking away, because you got to understand the power that the church had at the time. Moving on. So now we get to who is King James. So all of that was going on before King James even really got onto the throne. All of these, even wars were fought, people were killed, different religious groups were popping up out of nowhere. Different religious groups started creating their own Bible. So there was just a lot of conflict, religious conflict, as well as political conflict going on in England, Scotland, Ireland, even Switzerland, Germany, you know. So that's what was already going on before King James was even born, for real, you know. Well, I should say before he even became an adult, for real. All that stuff was going on. King James was born in Scotland and became King of Scotland in 1567 at just 13 months old. My dude was a king as a 1-year-old. My dude was a straight up king already. King of Scotland at 1 year old. Can you 1-year-old? Could you imagine that? You a king mode at 1 year as a 1-year-old? So this dude was royalty to the bone. And the reason why, just to give you a little more history, the reason why he became king at such a young age is because his mother was actually Queen of Scotland. She was Queen Mary Stuart of Scotland, but what happened was she had to step down from her queen position because a lot of the decisions she made, I guess you could say the crown, England, the government, they did not approve of her decisions. And eventually, so because he was her son, you already know he's heir to the throne. My boy is heir to the throne. He like, yo, son, yo, ma, yo, you have to step down. You already know I gotta step up. So as a baby, that's the reason why he stepped up to the king position at such a young age, because his mom got dethroned and eventually she was even beheaded. So that's a whole nother discussion. We'll talk about that in another presentation later on. But just to give you the backstory of why he became King of Scotland at such a young age. So James being put in such a position of power as just a baby makes it clear that this was a bloodline and royal family appointment, simply for the fact that he was Queen Mary's son. So he was the next heir to that throne. So that's why he stepped up. Scotland was ruled by regents until James was old enough to rule in 1583. King James I as adult king. When his cousin, Queen Elizabeth, died in 1603, James moved from Scotland to England and became the King of England, Ireland, and Scotland. Now he big dog king now. He ain't a baby no more. This is a grown man now, running things, leader of the pack, you know, leader of the country, overseeing everything now. This is a prime example of how rulers of nations are not chosen by the people like you may think. They let you vote as an illusion of choice, but really and truly they, and I put in parentheses here, Masons, appoint who they want to have in these high positions based on bloodline. For example, every president of the United States came from the same bloodline. That's a topic for another day. We ain't going to talk about that right now in this video, but that's how things be working out. So a lot of times you thinking you go in there to go vote and your say matters and, oh, the people have the power. Look, me, I'm all for the people. I'm for the people all day, every day. But you got to realize that when you go up to these polls and you go vote, they're really just giving you the illusion of power, because no matter what them votes come out to say, these people going to pick who they want to pick to be in these high positions, to control countries, to control nations. These people, they going to pick who they want to pick at the end of the day. So don't ever be deceived. Don't ever be fooled. These people be coming from bloodlines that went way back, their ancestors and stuff, and the royalty is being passed down and being passed down and being passed down. So don't ever think for a second that us as the people really have the power when it comes to them. They don't want us to have the power. They don't want us to reach high levels of consciousness. They don't want us to unify. They don't want us to all come together and realize our power as the human race. They don't want that. They want to keep us divided so that they can keep us conquered. Let's just be real about how this stuff works. So this right here is a prime example. Him, King James I being king as a baby, shows you that, yo, that was set in stone already. So I don't know how it works in England if they do a vote. Well, I don't think they do a vote. I think it's just the heir to the throne. It goes by family and bloodline. I don't even think they allow you to vote in England like that, like how they do it here in the U.S. At least the U.S., they give you an illusion of having a say. They give you an illusion in the U.S., but really and truly, whether it goes Democratic or Republican, they still gonna get their way, because they're always gonna be able to control that person in that high position. They'll never put somebody in that high position that they really can't control. Why you think an independent party president never seen the throne yet in the United States? Why you think they never became the president yet? It's because of this. It's because of this. Like, let's be real. They like, yo, F that. We ain't gonna have nobody who's of an independent party that isn't a part of our bloodline become a president. When King James came to power in England in 1603, there were three main English Bibles in use. The Bishop's Bible, which was from the Church of England, aka the Anglican Church. That was the main standard church. The Geneva Bible, which were read by Protestants like Puritans and Calvinists. So as you can see, Puritans and Calvinists were two different groups under the Protestant umbrella. And of course, like I said before, there were way more different groups within the Protestant umbrella. And the Reims New Testament Roman Catholic Church. All of these conflicting Bibles being studied was causing confusion and dissension in England. This is what was going on when King James I actually became an adult king and was ruling. So the Geneva Bible, I want to talk about that. This was the Bible that a lot of Protestants liked and they loved. The Geneva Bible was extremely popular in the English-speaking world, despite the Bishop's Bible being authorized by the Church of England. So imagine that, right? Like, they like, yo, we don't care what Bible y'all telling us we should read. This is the Bible we want to read. So these people had a lot of guts. These people was some gangsters. This Bible was well liked by Puritans and Calvinists who were Protestants, as it included notes emphasizing their views on church and political leadership. From my research, it sounds to me that the Geneva Bible was the people's Bible, because it questioned the corruption of the Catholic Church and undermined the divine right of the Pope government in England at the time. If you ask me at this time, I would have been reading the Geneva Bible. I would have been walking around with the Geneva Bible in my hand, like, yo, bump that. Forget what y'all talking about. So now, how did the King James Bible came about, right? We went from the Protestants being formed, the Reformation being formed, to it getting to the point where different kinds of Bibles were being introduced. English Bibles were being introduced, and different Protestants were using the Geneva Bible. while the Church of England people were using, what Bible were they using? Did it say? The Church of England people were using, hold on one second, the Bishop's Bible, right? So all of these different Bibles started to come about because they like, yo, forget the Catholic Church. We ain't trying to hear nothing y'all do. We don't even want to read y'all Bible. We want our own Bible. So that's how these people was on it. So how did that transpire into the King James Bible coming about now? In 1604, because the Puritans went up to King James and they was like, yo, my man, yo, we need reformation in the church, man. The corruption is getting out of hand. The indulgences is getting out of hand. A lot of these priests are doing things for financial gain. They're not even doing things based on the word of God anymore. We need reform, my dude. That's how they went up to King James. Like, yo, my dude, what you gonna do about it, man? We know you run the town. We know you run the countries. Yo, you need to do something about this. That's what they did. The Puritans, they went up to him who were Protestants. They went up to King James like, yo, dude, yo, what's up? What are we going to do about this, man? We need reformation. So in 1604, King James called for the new translation of the Bible to settle disagreements over reforms in the Church of England and respond to pressure from the Puritans. So he had a whole meeting with the Puritans. However, the Puritans never received the reforms they wanted, but instead King James issued a new translation of the Bible. So what did he do? He did the political move. As you know, a lot of politicians, they're controlled, they're puppets. Let's just call a spade a spade. So he didn't do what you thought he would have did for the Puritans, aka like the people. He didn't do what was in their best interest at the end of the day. I'm not saying he did anything necessarily cruel to them, but he wasn't really trying to hear them out. He's like, yeah, whatever. He was just like, yo, there's a lot of fighting and bickering going on, and I'm tired of it, and I want to stop this disagreement going on among these religious groups. That's kind of how he was on it. King James was like, yo, man, what can I do to just get everybody to just shut up and create and make it so that there's no more bickering over religious texts, worship, and stuff like that. So really, he created his own version of the Bible to reinforce his image as a political leader and establish political peace in his kingdom. That's really why he did it. So in James, he was also a firm believer in kings having a divine right to rule. So really, James was on the side of the Church of England. He was really on the side of the Catholic Church. He ain't gonna make any decision that's gonna threaten his position as king. And he looked at the fact that all of these people were fighting and warring and violence was happening. He looked at all of this stuff going on like a defiance to the Church of England, which if it's a defiance to the Church of England, he looking at it as, yo, this is a defiance to my position as king. So think about what he did. You think he did what was best for the people and really did what they wanted? Or you think he did what he had to do to protect his position as a political leader? What you think? He did what he had to do to protect. I don't even got to say it to y'all. He did what he had to do to protect his crownship, to protect his kingship. Let's just be real, right? How the King James Bible came about. So James found many of the study notes in the Geneva Bible. Remember, the Geneva Bible was the people's Bible right there. That was, that was what the people loved. The Protestants loved that Bible. He found that Bible to be distasteful and undermining to the ideals of monarchy and the divine right of kings. Why is your right as a king more divine than anybody else's? That's my question. What make when you go to the bathroom and you take a dump, it don't stink, my dude? Like who are you? Like, you don't put on your pants the same way as everybody else put on their pants? Like, who are you? What gives you so much more divine right over people than the regular people? So this is my problem with King James. This is my problem with him. Like, dude, who are you, my dude? Like, yo, like, we can't worship God and pray to God ourselves and go to God ourselves. We got to go through y'all. We got to listen to everything y'all say because God is appointing y'all to rule us and control us and do whatever else. Come on, man. You know what I mean? And another thing is, a little off topic. There's a lot of speculations that King James I was homosexual. Based on my research, I haven't found any definitive evidence or concrete facts to really label him as him being a homosexual. There were speculations that he used to write a lot of love letters to men, and he would even have affairs with younger men. And I forgot the name of the guy, but they said that there was this guy that he had an affair with who was a younger, good-looking guy, and he helped this guy move up the ranks in politics very fast. And they speculated that he didn't even really stay home and sleep with his wife. He didn't, he had kids with his wife, of course, but they're saying all of that was a cover-up. I don't know how true this is. I can't make a decision based on, these are all alleged stories, but a lot of people allege that he was a homosexual, and that, how could he even really care about spirituality? How could he even really care about Christianity, especially at that time, if homosexuality was condemned? I don't think that takes away from his legacy, because I don't know. I really don't know. I did research on this. I was digging to find out any facts or any clues on or evidence of him being a homosexual. And to be honest, there's not enough for me to make a definitive decision on that. But I just want to talk about that because I did see a lot of that going on and floating around online. And the stories sound believable, but I can't come here on my presentation and just say he was a homosexual right out. You know what I mean? Like I can't do that to the homie. You know what I'm saying? But I can say that this dude, these people, they was ego tripping. I could see that from a mile away. So James made sure to get rid of all the marginal notes that accompanied scripture inside of the Geneva Bible when he launched his KJV Bible. The King James Version of the Bible was not the first English language version of the Bible, but the culmination of extensive translation activity from books in the 1500s. For example, the Tyndale Bible. Could you imagine this dude they killed years ago? That's William Tyndale. They murdered this dude, and then now they using his version of the Bible to create the King James Version years later. You see how messed up the government? That's messed up. That's some wrong. Yo, the dude died for no reason. Y'all stole his stuff. So yeah, what did y'all do? So I think that was another form of ego tripping, because they was looking at William Tyndale like, yo, bro, who are you? Like, who are you? Who do you think you are to go off and make your own Bible? Only the royal king gets to do something like that. That's what I think it was, of why they got rid of him, because his Bible was actually spreading until, of course, they stopped his Bible. So King James hired a team of 47 scholars. I'm going to say that again. 47 scholars. These ain't no stupid people. He hired scholars, 47, a whole team of them. These people ain't stupid. They know what they doing. They know what they putting in that new Bible, to analyze and revise multiple versions of the Bible in order to create a more simple and poetic translation. These scholars were hired to focus on assigned sections of the Bible for them to go through with a fine-tooth comb, undergoing an extensive screening process in order to come to an agreement on what the final Bible should say. The New King James Version Bible was published in 1611. That's how you got a King James Version of the Bible today. This is how it happened, y'all. This is how it happened. And they even say, which is something that I believe, they even say that basically King James stopped the printing of the Geneva Bible, because they say when the King James Version of the Bible first came out, it was having a hard time selling. It was having a hard time to get the people to buy it. But from what I saw in my research, I don't know how true it is, if it's a fact, but they were saying that King James actually put out like a law to stop the printing of the Geneva Bible, so that there were no more being created. So if there were no more other Bibles being created and all you had was the King James Version of the Bible, that would explain to me why the King James Version of the Bible eventually took off. And I could see that happening because he's the king and he believes he has divine right. So if you got this big head and you believe you got divine right to do this stuff, I could see you going the extra mile and making it against the law to even make New Geneva Bibles. Because a lot of the problems with a lot of the warring and a lot of the disagreements going on at the time in England was because of the printing press being invented in the 16th century, if I'm not mistaken. The printing press allowed for a lot of propaganda and a lot of different people's ideologies to be spread around England, because that was like the start of propaganda. And because the printing press was just printing out stuff and printing out information, some of the information being real news, some of the information being fake news, you could see how this could cause a lot of disagreement among people. So they saying that King James is like, yo, y'all better stop printing the Geneva Bible. Stop printing Geneva Bible. I just published the new King James Version. I don't want to even see that Bible anywhere in circulation in England. I could see him doing that. Now, some accounts say he didn't do that. I think he did, but that's my opinion. How the King James Bible came about, of all the translations, Tyndale's was by far the most influential. For centuries, the King James Bible has been rightfully praised as a literary masterpiece, as the prime exemplar of the English language. So they just stole from this dude. They killed him and they just continued to steal from this dude, which shows me the arrogance and how wrong these people were. And as a text that has shaped modern English. But in the last half of the 20th century, scholars have discovered that much of the genius of the language of the King James Version was, in fact, originally the work of William Tyndale. So you see my face right here. Wait, what? Y'all killed my mans? Y'all killed my mans and just took his work? Come on, man. All because he wanted to make an English translation of the Bible? Come on, man. So that's why you read a King James. Now, granted, I will say that the King James Version of the Bible is, I'm not going to disrespect the way it was written. I think it was written very well. I'm not going to lie and say it wasn't, but this explains why. Because it came from the work of William Tyndale. I think the language is very good in the Bible, although there's certain things in the Bible I don't agree with. I believe that certain things were just put in there for more control by the regime, by the government. I truly believe that things got lost in translation, and maybe things that weren't said in the original Hebrew Bible in the translation into the English Bibles. I do think they twisted a lot of things around and may have added things and removed things. But what I will say is overall, I think it was a brilliant, right? I think it's a brilliant text. I think the Bible is still a brilliant text, no matter how you look at it, right? So I do want to end off this video in saying that. And so, yeah, that's how we got to the King James Version of the Bible today. Drop a comment below in this video. Ask me any questions or giving me some more insight on any other information you have having to do with the Protestant Reformation. And also make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. All the links for you to be able to connect with me on my social platforms like Instagram, Facebook. You can go to my website. Also, there's a link for you to actually access a training program by me, which the training program is housed inside of a private Facebook group with all of the training webinars and all of that stuff. But without any further ado, this is your boy, Jonathan Belcher. That's how you got to the King James Version of the Bible that is here today. I'm going to see you in the next video. Peace.